Hello and welcome to this basic UI design concept video using Sketchware. So the purpose of this video is to show you how to customize views in the Sketchware and to also enable you create your own app screens from scratch. So this is where we stopped in the last video, right? So I'll just get rid of all of this so we can start afresh. By the way, if you want to take anything out of the main screen, you just hold on it and push it back to the bin and it takes it out of your screen for you. Same. Without any further ado, let's go straight to the point. So on this vertical bar here, you will see different sections of views. All these are called views. Anything that you can drag and drop here is called a view, right? So on this vertical section, we see different categories. We have layout, Android X, widgets, we have lists, we have library, Google, date and time. So those are the views we have in Sketchware, and these are the views you'll be able to use to create your own apps. These are the views you'll be able to use to build your own app UI, right? User interface. The layout is just simply a container that contains other views, though that's just the basic. A layout is a container that contains other views. So for instance, you want to group views into different categories, right? Use layouts to do that. And then the first view you see here is the linear with bracket H, and then the second view is linear with bracket V. What this means is that when you pick this linear H layout, the H stands for horizontal, the V stands for vertical, right? Since we said this is a container, right, we would have to start placing views inside this container. This is a container because it's a layout. It's a container for other views. So let's say we want to pick another view and let's pick this text and put it inside. Transform. As you can see, the views are being placed stacked one after the other horizontally because the orientation of this layout we picked is horizontal. So if I pick another linear layout here, it's called vertical. Any view I place into this will be stacked vertically, right? So as you can see, they're all being stacked vertically. So that's the basic difference between a linear H and a linear V layout, right? So they are placed linearly, right, in a straight line, vertically or horizontally. So let's move to the next view. So I want to just do this for the container layouts so you get the basic concept. So we have this scroll here. It's basically the same thing with the linear H, but it's scrollable if the container you're using covers the whole screen, right? Like I just made it to cover the whole screen, right? And you have views in stacks. What the scroll view basically is all about is that when you have content inside the scroll view that is more than the length or height of the container or the screen of the app, it allows you scroll to view the remaining content, right? Unlike the linear layout, it doesn't allow you to do that. Once you exhaust the length and width of the screen, that's where your views stop. This is an example of a scroll view. So by the way, this is an app you would be taught to build. We also have the radio group. It's a layout that is used to house radio buttons, right? So put radio buttons in your app. You use your radio group to group them, right? You use the radio group layout to group radio buttons, right? So the next category is the Android X category. So we have the tab layout here like this. It enables you have different tabs. As you can see, this is also a tab layout. In the Sketchware app itself, it's a tab layout. This is an example of a tab layout. Yeah, we have the bottom navigation. Bottom navigation. If you've seen an app like that has something like this in the bottom of the screen, this is what it's called bottom navigation. It usually sits at the bottom here, right? And then we have the collapsing toolbar. So an example of a collapsing toolbar is this WhatsApp app. It has a collapsible toolbar. So you have this toolbar here, right? If you want it to be collapsible, you use the collapsible toolbar. So when someone scroll bar past, it closes, and then when someone scroll down, it opens up. You use the collapsible toolbar layout for that. And one thing I didn't mention earlier is this view at the top here. It's called a toolbar, right? I want to show you a particular section where you'll be able to control that. So you go to open this tab, we'll go to view, then click on this. This is the screen we were customizing. It's called the main activity, right? So here you have some choices to, if you don't want the toolbar, you uncheck it here. If you don't want the status bar to show, if you just want a complete whole screen, you also check it here. So you don't have the status bar and you also don't have the toolbar. But if you want the toolbar, you check it here. This is what is called the toolbar. If you want the status bar, you check it here. This is what is called the status bar of your app, right? A drawer is something that looks like this. For instance, if you have an app you want to implement this feature, you come here to tick drawer, right? A fab is a floating action button. Fab is an acronym for floating action button, right? So if you check it, you see this button appears. If you want your app to have something like this, you come here to check it. So on the bottom of this screen, you also have other options. You want your app to, you can select the screen orientation of your app. You can choose between landscape, portrait, or both. You can also choose to hide the keyboard here. So you are free to choose, depending on what kind of app you want to build. You are free to choose what you allow and the settings you tick here. So for now, I will set this here. The next view is called the card view. The card view is just like, it's almost the same thing with the linear layout, but the major difference is that you can set round corners with a card view, and you can also set border shadow in the card view. If you want to create a layout like this that has round corners and shadow behind it, you use the card view. It is called a card view because it makes your view look more realistic. Okay. Also, this is one of the apps we'll be building together in this course. Text input layout. This is also another layout that houses text input. If you have a layout that has multiple text inputs, you use the text input layout to organize that, like I'm doing here. You can choose the orientation, vertical, horizontal. It's all your choice. So the next thing also, we have the swipe refresh layout. Swipe to refresh layout. So what this swipe to refresh layout is this is what the swipe refresh layout is all about. You swipe down to refresh. So you can implement this on your app with the swipe refresh layout. This app was also built on my smartphone. The next category we have is the widget. A widget is, as the name implies, a widget. Like, we have the text view, the edit text, the autocomplete text button, material button, image view, cycled image, and the rest. So I'll just show you around some of them. The text view is used to write text on your screen. The edit text use, very important, to enter. For instance, you want to request for input from the user, you use what is called the edit text. It enables you type in text and receive text from the user interface. We have the button enable you to receive click actions from the user, right? We have the image view. So if you want to include an image into your UI, your user interface, you do that with an image view. We have a cycled image, the same thing with an image, but it has a cycled background. The checkbox is simply a checkbox. All of these things are very easy to understand if you just practice and go through them, right? Let me go to the last view on this category. It's called the web view, right? So this view is very important in building things like website to app conversion, right? If you want to convert a website to an app, this view is very important and you have to understand what it is. A web view is used to embed a web page inside your app, right? Very easy. It is used to embed a web page inside your app. So with a web view, you can specify a URL you want to open inside your app. You will learn how to do this and use this later in the course of this video. The next category is the list. The list category. The list category are a set of views used to display a list of items, right? So if you have a list that you don't specifically know the length of the list, but you want to display it on a list, you can use either any of these: the list view, the grid view, the cycler view, the spinner, and view pager. For instance, let's pick the list view. It is a view that lists item in columns. You can also specify a custom view as each item on the list. You will be seeing a practical use of this list view when we are building the WhatsApp status saver app. The same thing applies to the grid view. Organize items in either rows or columns, in rows and columns. Also, the recycler view is similar to the list view, but is different in its own way, right? So we have the library. Almost all of these views are self-explanatory, and I'm trying to explain the most important views here so that we don't waste time on things that are not the most important, right? You can go out to test out this app. You have them installed on you have the app installed on your device already, so you can go out to test out these views to see what they are, play around the app and see what it is. So let's say this Google category. It is the category that enable you to use views from Google, One of the ways you can monetize your app is to use what is called Google AdMob. Google AdMob. It enables you show ads to your app users and gets paid in dollars in return for the number of impressions you're able to deliver to your advertisers. So there's a separate video that will show you how to monetize your app using Google AdMob. So everything will be covered there, from the different kinds of views we have when you want to show ads to users, and how you can create your own AdMob account and link it to your app. Everything will be covered in that video. Right, the map view enables you to display a map inside your app. The sign in button enables you to allow users to sign in with their Google account in your app. Right, this is what it looks like. It enables you allow users to sign in with their Google account. Also, we have the YouTube player. This view enables you play YouTube videos inside your app. Right, all you just need is to provide the video URL, and you'll be able to play videos inside your app. So the next category is date and time. Let me get rid of this. The date and time category enables you use date and time views. We have views like this app, a calendar view, right? The calendar app. You can also use any of these to build your app. Let's go into a more detailed explanation into how to create your UI. Let's use a button to explain. So, like I already said, you already know, when you pick up a view, you click on the view, this drop down bar appears down here, and you have 3 tabs on it: basic, recent, and event. Right, what you want to focus on right now is the basic section of it. This section, click on see all to see all the categories. It enables you to customize the view that is being selected. Right, so let's start with this ID. Every view has an ID, a specific unique ID that enables you identify that view. Right, this is very important when you're handling events and when it comes to organizing the logic behind every view. Right, so you can choose any ID for the view button 2, but no 2 views is allowed to have the same ID. Right, so this layout property section, the layout property section allows you to specify some layout parameters. Let's start with the width. The width, we have 3 options to specify the width. By default, it is set at wrap content. Right, the wrap content is used when you want the width of the height of the width or height of the view to match what is being contained inside the view. Right, but you can also change it to match parent. Match parent means, as the name implies, to match the parent view that the view is inside. Right, you can also set the height to match parent. See, it covers the whole screen. When you put match parent, it covers the whole screen. Right, so you can undo the changes here. You can undo changes in this section. So we have covered the width and the height. The next is called the padding. Padding and margin are quite similar. Paddings and margins are both spaces inside or outside your views. Right, so the padding is the space you want to allow inside the view, while the margin is the space you want to allow outside the view. Right, so let's see what that is. When you click on the padding, it brings up this pop-up menu where you'll be asked to enter the value of the padding you want. Okay. The basic measurement unit when you are sizing items with Sketchware is called DP. The DP stands for density pixels. By default, if you add a view, it has a padding of 8 by default. So you can increase this to let's say 50, so you'll be able to see what it is. So you see the space inside the view is increased to 50 dp, right? So let's see what margin it has. Every view comes by default with a 0 margin, so let's increase the margin to see what we get. You see the margin, the space outside the view has been increased. So the margin is the space outside, while the padding is the space inside your view, right? Now we have what is called gravity. Gravity is simply the positioning of the content of your view inside the view. In order to explain what the gravity is, let's use a vertical linear layout. So set the width to match parent. So we have it covering the whole screen. Then we put a text view inside the linear layouts like this. Now if I click on the linear layout and then go to the gravity and set it to left, I set it to right, you see the view inside is being set to right, which is to say the gravity allows you to position what the content of that view will be like, while the layout gravity helps you position the view itself in its parent view, right? In order to explain what the layout gravity is, let's add instead of using a gravity now that is controlling from the view, from the parent view, we can also do the same thing by setting the layout gravity of this text view itself to right. The layout gravity enables you set the position of a view inside the parent layout, while the gravity allows you set the position of a content of a view from the view itself. We have the orientation, right? So inside this linear layout, currently it is being set at an orientation of vertical, right? I can come here to change it to horizontal. That is, views will be arranged in stacks horizontally, right? You can also change it to back to horizontally. You can also change it back to horizontal orientation. And it looks like this, right? Now, another very important concept you need to understand with Sketchware sizing is the weight. The weight here. This weight is used to share a container equally. This weight is used to share the space inside the container equally within the view, right? So we have this linear layout. Set the height to wrap content. We have something like this, right? So for let's say we have 3 texts inside this linear layout. Change the orientation of the linear layout to horizontal. So in case where we want this 3 text view to have the same space within this whole container, we use what is called a weight, right? First of all, you set the weight sum for the container itself. Just pick any number at all that can be divided by the number of, just pick any number at all that is divisible by the number of views you have. So I'll pick 30. Right. So now I'll come and set the weight of each of these to 1010. Means each of them would have the same space within this container. If I set the weight of each of these text view to 10, each of them will have the weight of 10, means they will have the same spacing inside the container, right? So let's do it. The weight to 10, because 3 times 10 because 3 times 10 makes up 30. So if you set the weight of the container, the weight sum of the container to 30, right? So you come and give each of these views 10 as weight. It would arrange and properly space them equally. As you can see, if I have like more views, let's say I have one more view inside here, I want to give them each equal space. I come and give this 30 divided by 4. You just put 10 also, then come and give the container 40. So each has 10 means it is equal everywhere. So that is it about the weight. We have the image properties of a view. In case you have an image you want to use as the background for a view, you can use the background resource feature to do that. So in this one, let's say I want to add a background image to this container. All I have to do is come, select all, click on this image to add my image into my project, then pick an image from my gallery. So let's say this is the image I want to use. It has been added successfully to my project. Now I can come and select it as a background resource of my layout. So as you can see, the height is set to wrap content, so it's going to take the height of what is contained in it. So I can still set the height to something. I can choose to say 100 dp. So this is what 100 dp is, or 200 dp. This is what 200 dp is, right? So let's this one. Now we have the background color. In case you do not want to use an image for the background of a view, you can as well use a color, right? So I can choose, let's say, purple. We have different shades of purple. I pick this, then we have this as the background color of this container, right? So easy to understand. Now we have the rotate. If you want to rotate a view through an angle, you come here to set the angle. So if I want to rotate that container view by 90 degrees, let's say 60 degrees, I come and enter 60 as a value rotate, and you see it's been rotated 60 degrees. Let's say I want to rotate it to 45 degrees instead. It's rotated 45 degrees, right? So very easy to use Sketchware creating apps. So it's very easy to create user interface with Sketchware. So I'll set this back to default 0. Now the next thing we have is the alpha. The alpha is simply a value you set for the transparency of your view. So it by default has a value of 1. So the highest you can set is 1, right? A value between 0 and 1 is decimal, right? So you set, let's say I set the alpha, let me set the alpha of this linear layout to 0.5. Means it's going to be transparent a bit, so whatever you put behind it will be visible, right? You can as well change the alpha. Is just simply the transparency of your view. You can change it to 0.2. Means it's going to be more transparent, right, and less visible. That's what the alpha is all about. Then we come to the translation X and translation Y. Let me set, to illustrate this example, let's set the alpha to the default, which is 0, which is 1. Also set the width to wrap content, and then the height to wrap content. So we have something like this. Now to illustrate what the translation X and Y is simply the translation X shifts your view on the X-axis. This is the X-axis horizontally, right? The translation Y shifts your view by some specific value on the Y-axis vertically, right? So let's set it. Set the translation X to 50 on the X-axis, and also 50 on the Y-axis. We have something like this: 50 from the left and 50 from the top gives us this. You can also set negative values. So let me change the translation X to -50. It's going to take it to the left, more left, right? So that's what the translation, like, it translates your view by the specified value. So take it back to the default. What the scale is all about is it enables you resize your view through the X and Y axis. So scale X means what is the scale you want to use on the X-axis, which is horizontally. I want to scale my view times 2 on the X-axis. We see that on the X-axis it is being multiplied twice. So if I want to do that for the Y-axis also, I input 2, and then generally the view is times 2 larger, right? So that's what the scale is all about. If I want to increase it to twice, to multiple times, like 10 times, scale it to 10, set the view is 10 times larger, right? So that's basically what this is all about. So we have covered the basic UI design terminologies we need to know in order to build UI with Sketchware on our mobile phones, right? In cases where you have multiple views on your screen and you want to get a specific list of all the views you have on your screen, you click on this and it pops up this is the list of all the views you have on your screen here. So you don't need to go click in each of them. You come here and then look for the view. The names here are the IDs of the view, right? So you know how to change that. Right here you can save your project while you work. Right, there you go. So by now you should be familiarized with the terminologies and how to apply them in customizing your UI. If you have any further questions, don't mind to send them in the comment section and I'll reply them as soon as possible.